So I'm just sitting here after an hour of speaking to Alex. And this wasn't even planned to be a video, but I've just sat and wrote down everything that I offer. My success system, the hypnosis, how I do the hypnosis, and actually a little bit about what I'm doing here in Marbella. And as I said, this wasn't even a plan for a video, but we're going to post it. And this is what you're about to watch, is a full breakdown of what I offer so you can really understand transparently how I help my clients and how I help them become unlimited. So soak this in, enjoy it, and remember to stay to the end, because there's a little surprise part at the end that I know you're going to love. The first part of the success system is vision and identity. The reason why we start with vision and identity is because without a vision, there's no direction. Without an identity, you don't really know who you're becoming. And there's a version of you that has the life that you want, so you need to become so clear on who that version of you is, how they think, how they feel, what their core values are, what state they operate in. And if you don't have the clarity on who that version is, you can't align with that identity. You can't consciously choose to be that version of you. And if you can't consciously choose to be that version of you, you'll never really materialize the life that you really want, that's aligned with that ideal version of you. So the first step is become clear in the vision. But we start with the Magic 1 scenario. This is from my mentor that I worked with 2 years ago, the Magic 1 scenario. A lot of people do this. They claim things that they didn't come up with, right? I didn't come up with the Magic 1 scenario. Gio McNee, one of the one-to-one mentors I work with, he gave me this kind of Magic 1 scenario that we done. And the reason why that's really important is because if I ask you, what does your life look like with a magic wand? You likely don't really tap into that reality or what that life would look like in day-to-day life, because your ego a lot of the time will think about, well, how could that happen? But if we use a magic wand, that's allowing you to tap into your full imagination of what you could actually have in life. But whatever you can see in your mind, you can hold in your hands. Like, whether you believe in like a religious God or a spiritual God, but God gives you a vision for you to materialize that. And when people don't materialize the vision that they have, that's when they get depressed and they're misaligned and they're not fully aligned. So we start with the vision. Then we lock in the identity, the version of you that has that reality. Understand how they see themselves, so the self-image. Because you'll never be able to act out of alignment with how you see yourself. So the self-image is one of the first things that we do as well. Because you might not see yourself as someone that can have that success. So you need to understand, if you don't, why is that? Why do you not see yourself like that, right? And we can start to get down to the kind of core of why you don't feel that you deserve it, or why you don't see yourself as someone that can have that. And again, it's going to come from something that you've learned in life, an experience that you've had where you've unconsciously decided to believe that you can't do it.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's where we start, as vision and identity.
When you say self-image, you mean, is that like understanding what limiting beliefs you have about what you can achieve? Not
beliefs yet. Self-image is like, how do you see yourself? So if you're like, what kind of person do you actually believe you are? Right? I'm someone that I'm kind, I'm genuine, right? But I don't always follow through on my own word. Or I just feel like I just don't always do the thing that I know I should. Or like, you say things like this and you'll be like, I know I'm capable of more, but I just don't. But does a version of you that has the life that you want see himself like that? No, he doesn't. Right. He doesn't see himself as limited. He sees himself as, I have everything I want. I am abundant. So the self-image is is underneath the identity.
So we're looking at, you can see where you want to go. You can see what kind of person you think you are now. And then your job then is to fill that gap or help them become the person they want to be.
Yeah, exactly. But it's cool because when you do this, see when you work through my success system, you're mentally and emotionally connecting to the vision by writing it. This is why, like, throughout this week, I'm going to get the guys to sit down with a notepad and pen and tell me what their ideal life looks like health, wealth, relationships, like spiritually, everything about their life, because this is mentally and emotionally connecting to that, because for them to write that out, they need to envision it. They need to actually create it in their mind for them to put it on paper. So yeah, we start with a vision and identity. This is me running through the success system, then I can tell you what technically happens when we jump on calls initially, right? This is just the success system. Then you obviously list like your goals, because you start with the Magic 1 scenario, which is like your ideal life. Like, what is the ideal vision of your whole life that you want to achieve? Then you write the vision from like the scale of 12 months. So if everything goes to plan and you show up as this ideal self, what does 12 months look like? So they've then got this more, it's not realistic in a limited sense, but it's more like, right, well, let's set a vision for the next 12 months, because you need KPIs, you need targets to hit. This isn't just like a lofty metaphysical thing, but I don't tie a timeline to the vision. I don't tie linear time to the vision, because I teach be before you become. I teach step into being that version of you before you have it. Whereas if you're setting a goal for like on the 12th of November 2027, I will achieve this thing, then you're tying yourself to being that version of you on that date. Whereas I teach become that version of you now, and very, very likely you'll start to see ways to make that vision happen today. You shift your paradigm and see life in a different way because you're becoming that version now, rather than thinking, I can make $1 million a month in 12 months' time. Whereas if you start to become the version of you that makes $1 million a month now, you're going to start to see life in a way to make that happen quicker, because your brain will filter reality based on how you see yourself, because you don't see the world as it is, you see the world as you are. And this is why we audit your self-image, because if you see yourself as limited, your reality will be limited. But if you see yourself as someone that makes $1 million a month, you're impacting thousands of lives, and you're there already, you will literally start to piece your reality together to back that up. And then the second part of the success system is creating awareness around everything that could hold you back or is holding you back. So like you said there, do you become aware of the limiting beliefs? That is the second part, is we do a mind audit. So we audit your internal state, your internal consciousness, how you operate internally. So we look at your beliefs. We look at how you perceive reality. We look at what you expect to normalize in your life. We look at how you see yourself. Again, the identity you operate from. What is your identity? How do you see yourself internally? I audit your reactions. Like, what do you react to in life? Because every reaction is exposing your internal state. If you react to something, for example, and get annoyed, you're exposing what you have internally that still exists, that isn't in alignment. So we audit your mind, and then we do a life audit. So then I audit your whole life with you and allow you to become aware of, in your life, what's misaligned. Like, what isn't aligned in your life that will support this new identity. And I'll get to the hypnosis in a minute, but if we do hypnosis and we remove these subconscious limiting programs, and your life doesn't support this shift that you have, because imagine, like, Alex, imagine you come to me and you're not fully confident. You don't be yourself. And then we do hypnosis to remove the subconscious limiting programs, the emotions that are stored in your nervous system that react unconsciously that stop you being yourself. Imagine we remove that. But then you go into your life and your life doesn't support that new identity. Well, then you're going to start resorting back to these old programs.
Yeah, there's an example of that. For example, I explained to you my frustrations with the environment I'm living in at the moment, right? Like in the household, I don't feel like it matches my ideal self. Would that be an example of that?
That's a complete example.
Okay.
Just like if your environment doesn't support the new identity, it won't be a permanent shift. So this is why we audit your life. This is why I audit your life, because if you have this shift, and it's an amazing shift from the hypnosis that we do, and then you go into your environment and the people around you treat you like your new self. If your habits align with your new self, if your habits routine, if the way that you eat, if the way that you sleep is all aligned with this new identity, then it's going to feel good to be that new version of yourself. And when you feel good about this new behavior, you're then going to do the new behavior again. And then you're going to create this feedback loop of feel good, be the new guy. And then it's this permanent feedback loop that's created because your environment supports the new identity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
But we audit everything though. It's like environment, relationships, habits, nutrition, sleep, your emotions, like everything. We audit your whole life. So after auditing your mind and your life, because this is the awareness section where we're creating awareness around what could hold you back, I audit your dopamine. Because dopamine is a neuropeptide that makes babies crawl and want to move forward and run. So it's like that is the neuropeptide that's going to give you drive to move forward in life. And again, you spoke about society program people. We're programmed with this society that has short-term gratification, dopamine everywhere. You can get so much dopamine on your phone. So I audit your dopamine so you can understand how you're wiring your dopamine system, how you're wiring your reward system. Think about your brain as an operating system. If that operating system is wired for short-term gratification, then you will be wired to do things that require no effort because you're always seeking this short-term dopamine and gratification. But if we can become aware of what your current dopamine sources are, because a lot of guys, especially successful guys, they watch porn, they eat sugar, they take gear, coke, smoke fags, like whatever it is, doom scroll, right? And if you're not aware of your dopamine sources, then you can't then become consciously aware of what's maybe holding you back in the sense of your dopamine system and your reward system. So we then audit your dopamine, and then we create this future dopamine source, which is, again, maybe your ideal dopamine sources are going to the gym, going a walk in nature, reading a book, meditating, being around the right people. And if you can start to audit your dopamine and then align your dopamine sources with the ideal version of yourself, you will have more drive and motivation to do things that require effort that are actually going to take you towards the life that you want. So we audit your dopamine, and then after we audit your dopamine, we look at your current bad habits. And the reason why we look at your current bad habits in this way that I'm going to explain is because a lot of people have things that they do that are bad, like bad habits, but they don't look at the byproduct of what that's causing in their life. So imagine you scroll for 2 hours a day, right? By the end of the month, you've literally spent 60 hours scrolling. What's the byproduct of that? Well, you've wasted 60 hours that could have been used towards moving towards your vision. And then when you've done that, what's the pain that that's creating for your future self? I got this from Chase Hughes. Chase Hughes is the fucking GOAT. Concern yourself for your future self and be grateful for your past self. And if you're living in this state of being concerned for your future self, what is going to serve them, and being in the present moment grateful for your past self, then you're always living in alignment with your core values. You're always living in alignment with your vision. So then we look at the byproduct of the bad habit and the pain that that's creating for your future self. So you can think, right, well, do I want to have this pain in the future? Well, no, I don't. And to just quickly jump back to the first section, when we build out the vision for the next 12 months, that's not set by linear time, but it's giving you the scale of 12 months because you need to be like in touch with reality, because we do live in a physical 3D world. We look at the ideal outcome, but we also look at the nightmare scenario. So these bad habits are what is taking you towards the nightmare scenario. The reason why I do the ideal outcome and the nightmare scenario, again, Chase Hughes, one of the guys I learned this from, is because it gives your mammalian brain contrast. It gives you like this pain that you're running away from and this pleasure you're moving towards, because our primal brains are conditioned to either move towards pleasure or away from pain, right? And ultimately, this whole success system isn't only allowing you to create clarity, but it's actually rewiring your mammalian brain and how you move forward, because a big part of reprogramming your mammalian brain is, again, your environment. So this is why I use the life audit to be aware of what's in your environment that's the same or connected to your old identity, because if it's not going to change, then your mammalian brain doesn't sense any kind of novelty in your environment, and it'll just repeat the same patterns. So this is why the nightmare scenario gives your brain contrast, so that you can have right, I don't want that thing, so I'm going to make this decision. The contrast makes it easier for you to make a decision. So let's go back down to the awareness section. So after the dopamine audit is the bad habits that we just spoke about, and after the bad habits is your why. And this is something that a lot of people don't have, is a strong why. If the leverage is big enough, if the why is strong enough, you will do it every single time. People don't take action for their business, but if I put a gun to someone that you love's head, you would do it because the why is strong enough. But a lot of people aren't connected to this deep core drivers in their why, and that's why they don't do it. Everyone's pushing, but what pulls you forward? What's your deep why? A deep why for me is my mum's not getting any younger. I look at her, she's not getting any younger, and she's still working. Right? Well, a deep core driver for me is I want to retire my mum and give her the life that she wants, so she can finally feel happy in her life and fully peaceful. Because the peace, and there's an anagram for peace, is positive energy activates constant elevation. If she can't have peace in her life, if she has this stress because she needs to work, then she's not going to get any younger. She's going to die earlier. I want mom to be on this planet for as long as possible because I love her so much. So that's a deep core driver for me. But a deep why for me as well is changing millions of lives. Because how many people don't have this awareness that they can actually consciously direct their life in the way that they want? That they can actually become aware of what their deep core values are and align with that, and then materialize a life that truly fulfills them. They don't have this why. That is why, funnily enough, that is another part of the awareness section, is why are you doing this? Why do you want this life? What are your deep core drivers that are going to pull you out of bed on a daily basis to move forward? Yeah. So that's the last part of the awareness section. And this is when the hypnosis starts to come in.
Yeah. This is the bit I'm really interested in, because I don't understand hypnosis really at all. I don't really understand what the process is or how it works.
Okay. So in the success system, hypnosis is used as a state anchor tool. So it's like the hypnosis that I use in the success system is separate to the hypnosis that I use in the one-to-one sessions. So I'll give you an understanding of what that is. So in the success system, the third step is subconscious reprogramming, right? So you've got this clear identity. You've got this clear vision, right? You're aware of all the things that are holding you back. You're aware of all the limitations. The third step is anchoring the state on a daily basis that aligns with the version of you that has success, because I teach state first, action second. I teach get into the right state and take the action, because a lot of people are stuck in this hustle and grind mindset where they grind regardless of how they feel. But imagine you could anchor your state to the version of you that has success before you take the action. There's going to be a lot less resistance. You're going to be a lot more likely to take the action. So step number 3 in my success system is, the first part is the state alignment protocol. I believe you can be in the right state pretty much all the time. Life will happen, people will die, horrible things will happen, and you will, as a human, be in a bad state because someone dies in your family, right? But I do believe if you have the right tools, you can maintain the right state pretty much all the fucking time. Because it ultimately comes down to being more consciously aware of the state that you're in, and allowing you to create self-agency with that state to be able to actually stay in the state. The state alignment protocol starts with the end of the day, because every day starts the night before. There's not a day that starts good when there's a night before that's bad. So the state alignment protocol, the first part of it genuinely, right, is a journal protocol that I give my clients. And the first part of the journal protocol is them reflecting on their day and becoming aware of when they fell into a primal state. So I teach primal state and creative state, the two states of being that you can be in, the two nervous states, and you can put this into like the sympathetic nervous state or the parasympathetic nervous state. Sympathetic nervous state is simply the kind of fight, flight, or freeze, and then the parasympathetic state is when your nervous system is regulated and you're a calm, creative state. There's different ways to look at it, but it's a very simple way to teach. There's only two states of being that you can be in. There's different layers to like your nervous state, but the two states of being is something that I teach. And then first is like becoming aware of the state that you fall into that's negative, so the primal state throughout the day, and then becoming aware of what you were thinking when you fell into that state. And then off the back of that, you can become aware of what subconscious beliefs must exist for those thoughts to be the truth. And then at the end of that, you become aware of what is actually the truth. So in real time, you're becoming aware of subconscious limiting beliefs, when you're falling into the wrong state throughout the day, and what is actually the truth. So that journal protocol alone will help people rewire their subconscious beliefs and become aware and bring the unconscious limiting beliefs into the conscious awareness. And this is where like Carl Jung speaks about when you make the unconscious conscious, it's super powerful. That alone can actually change someone's fucking life without doing deep subconscious reprogramming. And I like to use the analogy. Imagine you walk into a dark room and you shine a torch into the dark room. What happens to the darkness when you shine light on it? It disappears. So this is what's happening when you're bringing these unconscious patterns into the conscious awareness. You're shining light on dark parts of you that haven't been consciously aware in your life for fucking your whole life, right? That's the first exercise, the first little bit in the journal protocol. The second part is then you listing every positive piece of information and evidence that aligns with the version of you that you're becoming, right? Because humans love evidence. We love to look at this physical thing like, we done this thing, that means we're good. So imagine you have 10 pieces of evidence that support that you're moving towards the vision every single day. By the end of the week, you've got 70 pieces of evidence that support you're this new version of you. So you can look at the end of the week and go like, I've done this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing. And that just gives, again, your mammalian brain confirmation that you are moving towards the life that you want. So that's part of the journal. The last part of the journal is you creating clarity for the next day. So you're then listing 6 needle moving tasks that you're going to do the next day that align with the vision. You're going to list them from order of importance, so what's the most important to the least important. Then get to the next day, start with the most important, and then move through your day like that, right? Then you're going to outline, right, well, what state do I show up in tomorrow? So you're anchoring the state before you even go into the day. Consciously. This is before you do hypnosis. Like I've got another part of the PM protocol. But you're anchoring, right, what state does a version of me that has success, version of me tomorrow show up in? Then you're anchoring, like, how does he behave? So you're thinking, what 6 needle moving tasks is going to move me forward tomorrow? What state do I show up in and how do I behave? So this is a conscious exercise that you do in a journal. Then you do your sleep hypnosis track. So this sleep hypnosis track is anchoring the state of having what you want as you go into your sleep. Because you're going into sleep and your subconscious mind never sleeps. So if the last thing that you're listening to and feeling is the state of having what you want, I've had clients have dreams about the vision and answers that have came up in their dreams because they're anchoring this state before they go to sleep. So this sleep track, obviously it's guiding you into sleep, but it's guiding you into anchoring the state of having what you want before you go to bed. So your subconscious is like soaking in the state of having as you're sleeping. Super fucking powerful. So you do that hypnosis track after the journal protocol, and that's the end of day protocol. Then, and again, I've genuinely made all of this up myself intuitively. I've not copied anyone. This is completely unique from me.
So it's like your original system then.
It is. It's my full success system. And I've had clients that are coaches that have kind of copy and pasted this, which is unfortunate, but they're not going to get the same results I get because they didn't make it. Then you've got the start of day, right? And it's cool because the part that I've done there with the 6 needle moving tasks, the state I show up in, the behavior that I operate from and operate as, that is done the night before. And this is done on a separate page for you to review in the morning. So what you do in the morning is you wake up. Personally, I get my clients to, I would recommend you hydrate. So maybe you go to the toilet, shower, whatever, and then you hydrate, stay off your phone, hydrate, and then you meditate. Meditation is the hypnosis track. So they have I call it a state anchor track. So this state anchor track is allowing them to step into the version of them that has what they want before they start their day. the version of them that's aligned with their core values, in the right state, has the right focus, speaks to themselves in the right way, is in an anchor in this physiological state as well, that is aligned with already having. So they do this hypnosis track as the first thing they do, because I teach state first, action second. It needs to be like that. That needs to be the order. So they do the hypnosis track to anchor the state. And then after that, they don't do an AM journal protocol because it's too long. Like, who wants to sit and journal like that in the morning? They just review the needle moving tasks, the state and the behavior that they wrote the night before. So just reviewing the night before when in the right state. So imagine you've anchored your state with a hypnosis track. Before you do the journal protocol, you're then looking at the 6 needle moving tasks in the right state, and you're taking the action straight away because you're in the right state. You're not going to have any resistance.
So this is self-hypnosis, technically, that people can do themselves.
To anchor the state.
And then this isn't you going there and hypnotizing
Nope.
them. Okay, that's a different thing.
No,
right?
this is different. This is why I believe my offer and my service is generally one of the most, if not the most transformational fucking service in the world. Because it's really, really, really comprehensive and really in-depth. Like, you've noticed that we've pretty much covered everything by now. And there's still more. There's still more, right? So like, after doing the starter day, I also give them state alignment tools. So there's tools that they can use to like anchor flow state during the day. And I won't specifically go into them, but they're tools that they can use within minutes to anchor the right state. So I give them tracks to anchor the state, but you can do things. I'll give you one of them. The quickest way to enter flow state, if you're in a negative kind of state, move first. So change the physiology by movement, then breath work, then visualize. So then you connect yourself to what it looks like to act in alignment. Then you affirm that with a statement, and then you take an action that aligns with that statement in the visualization. That's the quickest way to enter a flow state, is movement, breath work, and then that changes your physiological state, and it also changes how you're seeing your day. And then part of that section as well is building a vision board. A vision board is actually really, really powerful, right? People think it's like a cliche thing, right? Vision boards actually rewire your brain, because if you're exposed to images that are emotionally rich, then your amygdala ties importance and emotion to the emotional center of your brain. It ties emotion to that picture. So if it ties emotion to that picture, then your brain signals that is important to me. And there's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system that filters your reality based on what you believe and based on what you deem to be important for survival and then important for life in general, right? So if you have this clear vision that you've anchored in step 1, and you've got a vision board that ties you to that emotionally, say you've got it on your laptop, and every time you open your laptop, you see this vision board that ties you emotionally to the future, your brain's going to be programmed and wired to filter reality to move towards that. So the vision board's another cool part of the process. It's actually really powerful. So that's step number 3. That's the subconscious reprogram. That's the state alignment tools, the state alignment protocol. And then there's 4 and 5. So 4 is putting all of this into actions and systems. So I believe that a lot of people are metaphysical and they don't really speak about the actual physical actions. You need to set KPIs. But if people get too bothered by KPIs, all KPIs are feedback. And they tell you feedback, you're either aligned with the version of you or not. So KPIs are like, you post this amount of content, you do your visualization in the morning, you take this action for the business, you do all these things. KPIs are giving you, obviously, key performance indicators, but they give you feedback as to if you are acting in alignment. So I get my clients to put everything that we've done into a system, right? Because you've read Atomic Habits, and he speaks about like you'll fall to the standard of your systems. So like you'll always fall to the level of how good your systems are. Your system is like your ideal week. So what does your ideal week look like that allows you to live in alignment with your core values and give yourself that balance of like work and purpose and your values, and also allow you to move towards a vision at the rate that you want to move towards it? Because there's some clients that come to me that don't necessarily want to be millionaires and billionaires, but the cool thing is a lot of them do. A lot of them want everything that they want. So if you can lock this into a perfect system and create your life in a way that there's a system that helps you move forward consistently, you won't lose, because you're putting all the physical actions, because we live in a 3D world, into alignment with a system that allows you to consistently move forward. So I'll give you an example of how I create a system for me. On a Tuesday night, Tuesday PM, I don't set any intention to do work. A Tuesday night is for me to take some mushrooms, transparently take some mushrooms, go to the gym, do a workout, and go to the spa. And the flow state, the intuitive, non-resistant state that I get into allows me to get ideas that I would never get, clarity and answers around things that I've been looking for recently, and allows me to really genuinely connect to such a flow state that allows me to create so much clarity in my life, because a lot of people are stuck in this hustle and grind, do this, do this, do this, do this. But when you give yourself a chance to meditate, step back, zoom out, the answers and the clarity that you get is unbelievable. So me having periods of time in my system and my week that allows me to get into this non-resistant state allows me to consistently flow throughout the week rather than grinding. Does that make sense?
That's perfect.
And I give them KPI trackers, so I give them tables that they can track the KPIs. So on a daily basis, they go, what's getting done, what's not. And on a weekly basis, what's getting done, what's not. So they can become aware of what's getting done, what isn't, where they're not in alignment. And they can actually run their life and their business in a way where they're referring to KPIs that actually make sense. So that's aligning.
So it gives people a bit of a framework to help them actually, you don't just say, this is what's wrong, this is what you need to do, let me hypnotize you, and then things get better. It's actually like a full kind of life audit where you really help people just build better habits to do that.
Every single thing. Step number 5, accountability and clarity. So I do weekly calls with my one-to-one clients, right? And this is coaching calls, this is hypnosis. I call them awareness calls, but I am now using hypnosis in these calls. For the past kind of 7 months, I've been really dialing in with hypnosis one-to-one with clients on these calls. But these weekly calls are tracked, they're recorded by AI. There's a full summary and breakdown of AI, so they get a link to this in this step 5. So they can, and I actually urge my clients to take the transcript of the call and put it into ChatGPT or Claude and review the calls to further take action and more awareness on the calls that we have. Because we have conversations for sometimes an hour, and there's so much clarity, so much awareness gained. And if they can put that into AI to like harness that wisdom and awareness to apply it more to their life, it makes it even more powerful. That's what they also get. And then they get a weekly review and improve form, so they can review their week, see what needs to get improved moving forward. So that's the accountability and clarity part there. And there's a section where I can keep you accountable to tick off the success system that I've got, right? That's the success system. And that I could probably go into more depth, but that is kind of an overview of what it's involved. And the cool thing is, for the rest of this week, I'm going to be hypnotizing 2 of my one-to-one clients, and you're going to get to see the full behind the scenes. If at the time of watching this video, that has been posted, there'll be a link in the description to watch that full video. You're going to see all the behind the scenes, and there's going to be complete transparency. I'm not going to be hiding anything. So click that video to watch it. Click the link to implement this power that you've just soaked in and understood in this video. And also look below those links, you'll see my social media to follow me on Instagram, subscribe to this channel, and you'll see Alex's social media as well. Because Alex is a genius when it comes to articulating and helping people project what they really want to do in the world and the impact they want to have. Like, for the first time ever, I've been able to actually sit and articulate what I do, the purpose, and everything that I can give in my service currently. As I said, it's going to get better as the time goes on. But I've never met anyone that can actually help me put this idea to the world. And ultimately, Alex is now part of my team to move towards the mission of changing millions of lives. And I couldn't be more grateful for him. And honestly, if you're someone that is an entrepreneur, has a business, has an offer, and you're struggling to position yourself to show that very clearly to the world, Alex is a GOAT. So click his Instagram, give him a follow, and tap in, because you're not going to regret it.